In the last video I went through availability zones, and in this one I'm going to be going through disaster recovery. And unfortunately, when you put something into the cloud, there is no magic. There are real buildings with real servers and real fault domains. And when you're thinking of disaster recovery, you want to think that an entire region is going to go out. Anything in that region is going to fail. So you want a long distance between your regions. And in order to take full advantage of this, you need to understand how you want to back up your resources. Do you want to do it at the resource, the OS, the application, or the data level? So if you do it at the resource, this is going to be the most expensive, but it's going to save you the most amount of time. If you do it at the OS, it's going to be a little cheaper, but will be slightly longer in your terms of uptime. Application will take even a little more time to reset up, but it will be even cheaper. And then the data level. This is where you're going to pretty much recreate everything, but you're just going to have your data copied over. This will be the cheapest and is typically overall not the most efficient, but the best one to choose because it's the cheapest and still allows you to keep all of your data. And that one is especially necessary because you can't recreate the data. And you don't have to worry about everything, because some of the things aren't your problem, they're Azure's problem. Like, you don't have to worry about your globally redundant things like Azure AG. It just simply isn't your problem. And in my governance video, I went through active, and active passive redundancy, as well as asynchronous and synchronous, which will really help you in finding out what way you want to back up your data. But that is a really good video to watch if you want to learn a little more on that. So continuing on, you need to understand what you need for redundancy. If you need no data loss, which could cost millions, or do you need replication every 5 to 10 minutes, every hour, every day? How much data can you lose is essentially the question that you have to ask yourself. Cool. And not only do you need to know how much data you can lose, how fast you need it to be back up. So if something goes down, how fast do you need that to come back to you? And when you were collecting data, during that time that some of your resources were down, where's all that data that was collected during that time frame going? Is it just gonna get shoved in as soon as it opens and crash your system again? Or is it going to be stored somewhere else and slowly work its way into it? So the general best place to replicate is at the application level, but you can do this at any level. And fully recreating, saying that you don't need to back anything up, you can just recreate it once it goes down, only works if you have no data. And because if something you have is requiring data, you won't be able to recreate that data. But if it's just, let's say, for instance, like a VM, you can remake that really quickly, and you don't need that backed up. And you don't have to use one solution for everything. You can use everything circumstantially. And overall, you really just need to understand what your architecture looks like to create your backups efficiently. Your data is important. Your data is the most important thing over things such as a VM or a gateway, which is infrastructure that can be quickly reinstated. And let's say you actually just backed up your data. You need to then be able to recreate all those resources. And one nice thing is to have a repo that uses a pipeline to create all those resources. However, this won't use any images or your data that were already existing. You will need to put those in a different way. This does make everything quite a bit faster by using pipelines and connecting those to your repos. And you hope that you never need to use this. So it's nice to have, but you're hoping that you never need to use this. So this is like one of those things where you can kind of cut corners on. And once those resources are down, how do you reestablish connection? DNS, or hopefully not IP. How are they going to reconnect to those services? So can you rebalance the user into the resource? That only works publicly, not on things like internal facing services. So if you have your one region over here, and let's say this wasn't taken out, can you rebalance your users from over here to over here in the event that this is taken out? What you really want is something where you can go. You really want your just large red button that in the event there's a problem, you can just push that button and recreate everything. And the nice thing about Azure is that you can replicate to on-premise. So you can do Azure to Azure or Azure to on-prem. So you can have your Azure resources, and then if it goes down, you can just put that onto your on-premise infrastructure. Or you could do the Azure to Azure that we've been talking about. And the hope is that you never have to use this. And most of the times, it's can be so bad you almost can't use it. In Azure, that's not the case because it's always being upkept. And you always need to be testing your disaster recovery because your resources are always changing, updating, and everything. So if you have more that might not already be in your plan, you just need to make sure that you're updating and testing all the time. Or not all the time, but make sure you're updating and testing them. And this is disaster recovery. You don't want this to be the first thing that you're doing. You want to prevent, mitigate, prepare, respond, and recover. And notice how recovery is the last step. You want to make sure you are preventing it before it happens, learn how to mitigate it, prepare for it, respond when it happens, and then recover from the disaster. That's it for this one. The next one is going to be where we actually start creating resources, VMs, storage, and everything on pretty much actually setting things up. That's all for this one.